Um, I saw a clip of a guy reviewing Superman, the James Gunn Superman, and he's a comic book person, so he knows the whole ordeal of his powers and his what he's capable of and what's his weaknesses, and he knows all this thing about Superman. And he was bringing up great points, um, you know, the nanotech, whatever, going to his body and stuff like that. And he just said, honestly, what would that do for him? It will make it uncomfortable, but he's Superman and shit like that, right? And he brought up a point when Superman's flying, into the air, and this Superman, he's fast. Superman's fast. So the person with the jetpack shouldn't be catching up or be on the tail end of on the like nipping at the tail of Superman's cape. He shouldn't be doing that because, or I mean, this lady with the jetpack shouldn't be doing that because you can't be faster than Superman. And valid logical points, make sense, but I think I think I've if I've heard right, Superman's a difficult person to write because he is essentially someone you just can't kill. I guess, other than kryptonite, but how long if you keep bringing kryptonite into the fucking week? Or how long does that get tiresome? You're like, okay, we're gonna go, but we gotta bring kryptonite. It becomes tiresome to just keep relying on this little, um, one little hiccup inside the design of Superman, right? It's this um, kryptonite being its Achilles heel, and everything he said when he talked about the movie was 10 times better than how I would than how I describe that movie. But I think what this person is missing, and sometimes what people don't understand, and make a movie that could be enjoyable, unenjoyable, which is using logic when sometimes you need to use the stupidity to go. You need to allow stupidity to push the plot. And in this case, where these things go against everything that is Superman, um, in reality, Superman is like, okay, well, you did that, that's fine. I'm gonna kick your ass with these nano fucking things, and I'm gonna still kick your ass. You're gonna die. You're gonna die. That's the end of the story. It's like at the end of the day, that's what I guess that's the problem with Superman. He could end everything within a snap of a finger. Unless you have kryptonite, there's not really much. There's not really much you could do to stop the inevitable. So I guess that's one of the issues with Superman. It's basically Superman playing with his food. So to make him interesting or recall, you have to have something like that where it goes against logic, or at least goes against the characters. The characters recall. I don't know, the characters' makeup. And I would go to the Odyssey. When I watched the Odyssey, at the end, people were running frantically. In reality, you could gang up on him and just knock his shit out, right? But but because the reason for uh, that frantic running of everybody in the background is to bring the sense of chaos. You know, you know. So the so when the people's watching it, they're like, "Oh my god, it's chaotic. Oh, this guy is dangerous." You know, you get you this idea, this we call. In reality, if people were like it's 1 against 100, what were we doing? Fucking, let's just fuck them up. That's in reality. If people put their brain cells together, that's what's going to happen. But because you want to present this person as this terrifying recall because you're building him up to be this thing, and then it became where everybody's starting to run in the back, like scare out of their mind because the monster has finally came. Then you're like, okay, you understand why they do that, and that's it. That's sometimes you just don't realize why we allow stupid things to happen, because it builds up tension. Because logically, if you put things together logically, things will happen in a way that will end things instantly. So it's like you have to, like, I remember watching somebody getting mad about, it's a fictional thing, so there's like things that you don't they don't the laws don't abide by, and this person is like upset by it, like, it's not possible. Why'd you just we got? But at the end of the day, you have to allow that. You have to allow some of the rules to be. You have to succumb to the rules. If you don't succumb to the rules, then you're gonna use your our logic. And if you're gonna use our logic, then that means nothing they do will make sense. And now it's more or less of a not understanding that. Especially like I will go with Disclosure Day. I think Disclosure Day is more different compared to Superman or Odyssey. Odyssey, I think, that, yeah, as I said, it was more for tension, to bring chaos, to bring this, this myth into reality. There was a lot playing into that, but it was with that stupidity that I would say, when we allow stupidity, it was minor, and if there was other stupid things that were allowed, it was so unnoticeable because at the end of the day, we aren't always on our toes when sometimes we are met with things only until after fact, when we review what happened, do we start, like, oh my god, this person was lying, this person was not being truthful, or this person was misdirecting me. You know what I'm saying? Only after the fact you get that. And sometimes when the movie does that, that's fine, and we call it. But with the Odyssey, there wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? There was one instance with the people running around where it's just like you allow stupidity. As I said, if there was one, then I don't know which one was it. But if it was, it's probably something we all experience where we don't notice it until after the fact. And if that's the case, that's perfect in reality. No matter where you are, that's perfect in reality. But and the same thing with Superman. But then again, here's the thing with the I think more or less of you want to pick apart things would be, you don't know, people don't know Superman and his abilities. Only people who knew that are comic book people, right? And so nobody knows, like, hey, we're gonna shove these nano things into you, and we're gonna try to stop your breathing and stuff like that. And people are like, oh, that's that's dangerous. That's like he could die. But in reality, Superman wouldn't die because Superman's able to not die other than kryptonite, right? Or whatever else, but just say only kryptonite. We knows that, and sometimes, so because nobody, so because of their ignorance, it could be like, we call they won't know his abilities and all that stuff. Whereas in somebody who's a comic person who does know that, is like, that's an issue right here, because that's not a reality. And when he's flying up and they're keeping pace with him, in reality, he would be gone, and they wouldn't even. He would be like 3 spins over Earth where they'll be only passing from just say California to Texas. That's how fast Superman is. He could be like 10 planets ahead, rotating 10 planets ahead while they just cross Texas, starting at California. And because people don't know this, and only people who notice are comic people, they will have issue with that, and they will be probably nitpicking those issues. Whereas we are understanding that that's something we're unaware of and stuff like that. Whereas in Disclosure Day, there's a lot. I was watching the Jesse Michaels recall, and he did the he was connecting all the things that people who are in the conspiracy theory of UFOs were able to know. He was connecting all those dots, and the movie you don't know none of that, but he was able because he's so informed on the subject that he was able to pick him and tell people like this what this was, whatever what, right. And here's the thing, right? So Superman flying in the nano recall, he's having trouble breathing, so he's trying to recall and stuff like that. You understand, everybody understands that's dangerous. You could die in recall. But the comic person is like, no, he doesn't die. This is not something he does. He doesn't die because of that. He dies of kryptonite, but if something like that, he doesn't die. He just has an issue. He's just some like ant biting him. That's all it is. And there's Disclosure Day, right? Alien. They revealed the alien at the end. And depending how you want when you see the alien and who had it, you're like, for me, even though I am well versed on the alien subject and why that's a thing and recall, even at the end, I'm like, why'd you hide this little tidbit from everybody? And nobody's gonna. That's what everybody's gonna think. It's like, you had an alien. You could have just ended this shit real quick right there and then, because as logically that's how you're thinking. But because I'm a comic book nerd, in this case for the Superman, I'm a UFO nerd. I'm like, oh, the reason for this is because if you depending on, because they said Steven Spielberg was into the alien things, at least to a degree. He must know that the reason why the aliens don't come up on the lawn and say what's up is because we ultimately have to do the disclosure ourselves. Because if the aliens do it, that would be a negative effect, and whatever negative effect that would be, we don't know. Just we know that aliens can't come down and say what's up. They can't do that. Only until we do something about it, where we disclose something or we reveal something or whatever the case may be. But that's because I'm aware of that. I know that, and I can say, oh, I understand why now you disclose, now you reveal the alien. But at the same time, I'm like, if somebody's watching that, they don't understand that. But even then, when I'm watching that, I'm like, you could have brought that motherfucker in at some point. You could have just have him like in the dark, so you could just like put him in the shadows. For me, him just coming out, the alien just coming out of nowhere, to me just didn't make sense. It just felt like that was like the big surprise, boom, boom, boom. I think there's a huge issue with how they did that thing, where if, in the sense of me being the comic nerd for the Superman, I'll be the alien nerd. I understood why, but at the same time, I understand why people will be like, why did you not just reveal this guy from the beginning and just end this shit right there? You know what I'm saying? So there's times where you in this case, with the stupidity would be allowing Superman having weaknesses. In this case, allowing people well, I guess I don't know if there's any stupidity in that, where you could just say, why didn't you just bring this motherfucker up from the beginning? But I think I think people are having an issue. I think sometimes when you watch something and when you're heavily invested into it, like again with aliens and like that person with Superman, you don't allow stupidity to play a part in the movie. You allow sometimes the logic of that character's realm, and sometimes you can't do that in movies, or you could do it in your storyline from your comic books or whatever. But sometimes in movies, I just don't think you could do that unless you're grounded in because they mention how difficult writing Superman is, and Superman, for Superman to be Superman in the movies, he has to be a side character. He has to be the Incredible Hulk. Because if you try to use that character's reality into a movie, I think it gets boring real quick. I think it has to be a credible Hulk in the Marvel situation where I think it has to do with rights, and they don't have the rights to Incredible Hulk, so that's why they can't do movies with him. Only as a part of a character inside another character's movie, like this. I think the Spider-Man, Thor, Avengers, but that's a whole group thing. But I think for that you have to allow Superman to be that kind of character. He can't be a main character, and the only way he could be a main character while pissing off the comic people is if you used the rules of that universe. And with Superman, I don't think you could do that and make it an entertaining movie. Because I think the only one that does it that did what you could do with Superman is what Doctor Strange did in the movie. I forgot which one, but basically he outsmarted this demon, and this demon's in constant repeat and stuff like that. So he didn't destroy him by recall, but by his brains. But this all goes to say you have to allow stupidity. And if you don't allow stupidity, if you don't allow the rules of sometimes of the universe, and if you do allow the rules of the universe, sometimes the movie isn't going to be as great as you hope it would be, and sometimes you have to rely on uh, other things, like in the sense where you will have to rely on the character more than the action pack. So when you hear Superman, you would want to expect that he'll be fighting everybody, or at least get into these massive fights and recall. But when you already know the outcome, and when you already know this guy's indestructible, uh, that gets tiresome. So you have to build around his identity, his character, and stuff like that to now create this different thing. Because then when he goes in a fight, it could be a one and done, but at least you know the reasons and shit like that, right? So you just have to allow stupid things to happen. This person didn't allow stupid things to happen, so it ruined his experience in the movie. Maybe it's the same case with me with the Disclosure Day. I liked the movie. I just didn't. I just think there was a lot of issues with the movie, not necessarily about the alien. Well, yeah, with the alien stuff, but with the whole how they went about it was more of my issue with the movie. And I just think if you don't allow stupid, as I mentioned, this person was complaining. It's like this doesn't make sense because in reality this will happen. And in my head, you can't do that. I told that person you can't do that because if you do that, then you're gonna ruin every movie. And like if you like just that movie Obsession, obviously there's no fucking way if you don't want to believe in paranormal and stuff like that. Obviously that doesn't happen in reality. So if you watch that movie and you're gonna be like, yeah, well, no, she's crazy. There's no possible way she could be possessed by a demon. So you realize, oh shit, you're trying to bring in logical thinking into a movie, into a reality that has its own rules, and you're trying to force your rules onto a rule, into the rules of this world, and you're not allowing that. And sometimes, as I said, sometimes you just gotta allow it. And sometimes in those rules you have to allow some stupid things. You have to allow it. You have to allow it, because sometimes those things brings tension. Like the nano thing, obviously it's just that simple. It's like if Superman could recall, then guess what? Those people are dead. That's the end of the story. But you have to allow this shit, stupid shit to happen. If you don't allow this stupid shit to happen, then you're like, okay, now this is entertaining. Oh, now he's flying up the vehicle. Oh, no, is he gonna make it? Because they're on his ass. You know what I'm saying? Now you bring tension into this, and now you're like, okay, like that week, as I mentioned, the Odyssey with the whole thing, where it's like, in reality, people are gonna jump his ass and beat him to death. But you know what? All those people going crazy. You just, it brings a chaotic feeling into the scene. But you want to add logic into it. It's like, no. Sometimes you have to let stupid things happen. So there's life being breathed into that scene. If these people were smart, if we use the logic of how we would go about things, the Odyssey, the end part, none of that would have been what it was. It would have been like, it would just be like people stomping on his ass, just stomping on him, because at some point he won't be able to capture everybody. So it's like, that's it. That's the end of the story. Boom, cool. What do you get from that? You get nothing. So you allow stupid shit like these people running in fucking circles. It creates a scene that's more dramatic, more chaotic, more interesting. Allow stupid shit. Accept the stupid shit. Don't accept it to a point where these people are doing so many stupid shit that you're gonna that it doesn't make sense anymore. It's just starting to be an issue. And there's, as I said, with Disclosure Day, there was a lot of stupid shit. Honestly, if there was, the only one I noticed was the last scene when everybody's running. Superman, I don't think I remember anything, because I don't have that great um understanding of his abilities. But people who's a comic, people realize, oh, that's stupid. That's not something that happens to him. You just gotta allow things. While these things, yeah, if you don't allow stupid things, you don't allow the scene to breathe, the plot to go forward. So allow stupid shit, accept stupid shit. If it becomes so brutally bad that it's glaring, like in the Disclosure Day, where I just felt like there was so many stupid shit that I'm like, I forgot which one it was. Uh, they did something so fucking stupid. I'm like, fuck, what was it? I know it was one of the things where he's fucking, like, they're all fucking facing the whole fucking facing the house instead of behind. They, instead of checking the whole surround, they just focus right there, and this fucking guy's like basically walking. Wow, any warrior in the world that they will come after him. It's like, there was something else that was so fucking stupid. I'm like, oh, the fucking light thing on the when they go invisible. That light thing, so they're able to see that fucking light thing when that thing was able to make everything invisible. And it's like, when you like that, when it becomes so much of stupidity that you gotta say, this is not okay. You think I'm stupid to a degree that you don't understand, like that. You don't think I understand at least some of these fucking like you don't have, like, so you're able to make everything visible, but this little tiny thing that doesn't make sense. That's to anybody. They don't even have to believe in aliens. That, for somebody, that'd be like, what the fuck does, why, you would just think about that, like, why is that even a thing? Disclosure does a lot of stupid things that it becomes so apparent that you have to question if they're questioning your intelligence. Whereas Odyssey, the same with the people running. Obviously, at some point you're gonna catch on, but at the same time, you understand. Oh, this is everybody's fucking scared of this man, and you know what I'm saying. It's like this chaotic scene, blah blah blah. You know, so there's at least you get what you at least some you get stuck into that plot, that scene. You get in entrenched, not entrenched. I will say that into the scene and be like that. Whereas that you're like, so you're saying this light is visible when it was able to make everything disappear around it, and somehow this light. So it's that thing. It's just stupidity. Allow it. It just don't allow it to the degree where it's question your intelligence. And I think sometimes these people who watch movies and sometimes who are like me and like this person who's a comic book person who's a fan of Superman, as I am a fan of aliens, I'm willing to have a better perspective, but I'm not willing to accept some of the dumb shit they were doing. Whereas I don't think he understands the perspective of anything. I think he only was willing to accept one thing and not accept that it's a movie. That you have to bring these tensions and stuff like that to make the movie more enjoyable instead of more. If you're gonna do that, just write a documentary of Superman. You know what I'm saying? Or you have to write it in the sense that Superman's not the main character; he's the outside character that comes in once in a while, or he's or you focus on the character and not the fighting scenes. And when the fighting scene comes in, you get the inevitable, but at least you get the character development. So when you hear with so it just understand that, accept that if you're that guy who can't accept that you need these things to make the movie enjoyable, do that next time. You could talk about it after and say, hey, this is an issue, but did it stop me enjoying the movie? It shouldn't be, because I as I said, the problem with the movie with disclosure wasn't necessarily, part of it was how they were doing it, but I mean with the alien stuff, but it was most in how they were going about the movie, and there was a lot of stupid things, and how they did the movie was stupid compared to me. We're like, I understand why this is happening. Okay, cool. You know, I was willing to accept the movie and stuff like that. I I think it's more different with the Superman, but it's more closer to it. But you can't. You just have to accept stupid. You have to accept stupid, and that's the moral of the story. Accept stupid. Obviously, you're gonna know more than somebody else about the character or about the conspiracy. But at the same time, that shouldn't ruin the movie. If there's some stupid things, but it has to be in a way that 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 benefits the scene. In this case, with Superman flying up, them keeping track, he's getting killed by these nano recall, is bringing tension. It's bringing like, oh, is he gonna make it? Oh, what is he doing? It brings all this. Whereas where disclosure, there was a lot of shit where you're like, why is this? That doesn't make sense. That's a lot of stupid. There's no tension in this. It's just comical. I enjoyed the movie, but do I think it's a good? I don't think you should watch it in the theaters. I think if it goes cheap, like $1 rent, $4, if you really like aliens, then yeah. But I just don't think that's a movie. If you're not into that recall, does anything should do anything for you other than confuse the fuck out of you and question if this writers question your ability to um, think critically about anything that they were displaying. So yeah, allow stupid shit, not to a degree where it's question your intelligence. That's it.